Across the vast multiverse, a looming shadow of despair jumped from universe to universe with the ultimate goal to conquer and dominate all sentient life. This universal union went by many different names to the species they encountered. To humanity, they were known as the Combine. These harvesters of life consisted of many different species, each one adapted into new weapons in an ever-growing army. Although turned into the perfect weapon, no one would ever know of what they once were or where they came from before their capture. One of these units was essential in the Combine invasion of planet Earth, a creature that has since become a fan favorite in the Half-Life community. But why? What was this creature originally? How was it adapted and used by the Combine? And how different could it have been if Valve had gone into a slightly different direction during the development of Half-Life 2? Here we explore in the lore and story behind the Combine Dropship. We all know of the collection of creatures that work together under the dominating force of the Universal Union to keep humanity in line. But at what point did each of these become a victim of the Combine, just like we did? Well before the invasion of planet Earth, there was the homeworld of the Vortigaunt, its name now unspoken by those who had survived. This species, just like humanity, were attacked. However, they escaped through to a border world and avoided the awful fate that the Combine had in store for them. Many years later, the Vortigaunt found themselves on planet Earth after the border world they had escaped to found itself in a different war, and they watched as the full might of the Combine Empire conquered Earth in a mere 7 hours. Unable to escape this time, the Vortigaunt instead joined the resistance of humanity and played their part in a war to remove the Combine from Earth. Approximately 15 years later, on a Combine-controlled Earth, a Vortigaunt called Gary created a mural in City 17. Not only was this important to tell the story of what was to come, but it also had some interesting details of what had happened in the past during the invasion of his homeworld. Now, why is this important in the history of the dropship? Well, in this invasion, the dropship can be seen deploying reinforcements as the other Combine units fire upon the Vortigaunt. This suggests that for land-based assaults, the dropship was pretty much essential, along with the gunship and strider. The lore and knowledge surrounding these creatures is pretty scarce, but there are little pieces of information sprinkled across the series, along with concept art that can be used to generate an idea of what they were and where they came from. It is very likely that the creatures we know as the Combine Dropship were once a species that lived in the oceans of a planet far away from ours. Their appearance shares a striking resemblance to the Eurypterid, a group of extinct arthropods, also referred to as sea scorpions. These went extinct on our planet approximately 251.9 million years ago. However, fossils of them have been discovered and studied. From above and below, it is clear that the dropship was inspired by this creature. It also appears that the forelimbs below were based off sea lampreys, parasitic eel-like creatures with a round, jawless mouth with sharp teeth. A large creature with a hard shell, powerful suckers, and many limbs to adapt was the perfect discovery for the Combine after they arrived on the planet of this ocean-dwelling creature. And just like they had done to many species before, they captured them and began their experimentation. This species would become one of the most important units in future invasions. The Combine just had to perfect them. The Combine had attacked and enslaved countless species across the multiverse, and they had the perfect role in mind for this creature: a support unit. Although originally a native ocean species, the Combine implanted 4 engines into the creature's top and bottom back appendages. This transformed them into flying synthetics, a combination of flesh and machine. This aspect was essential in the plan that the Combine had for them. Of course, with every species dominated by the Combine, they were indoctrinated as they were mutilated, and it is likely that as time went on, the Universal Union bred them into this line of servitude, unaware of what their ancestors once were or where they had come from. With these powerful pulse engines, the species could fly, and to navigate, what appeared to be metal wings were installed into the creature's 2 front arms, each wing itself emblazoned with the Combine logo. This creature was very much alive, but to its ruler, it was just another piece of equipment. Designated the name of the Dropship by the resistance of humanity, it was noted to fly across the wasteland. The name Dropship came from its primary function. Its 4 arm-like appendages with powerful suckers were used to carry materials deemed important by the Combine. This normally came in the form of a container used to move the passengers inside from one location to another. During the invasions of countless planets, the dropship was essential in bringing in additional reinforcements to keep the Combine's assault strong. Around 15 years after the assault on planet Earth, it was noted that the containers the creatures carried were slightly smaller than the ones used a mere 5 years later. This could suggest that during this period, the Combine had increased the capacity for soldiers inside in order to keep up with the rise in resistance activity. Not only did their ability to carry these containers make them perfect for this support role, but their hard carapace also protected them, for the most part, from their opponent's strikes. They could not attack themselves, however, the containers they regularly carried were fitted with a pulse cannon manned by the soldiers within. The underbelly of the dropship was its weakest point, yet the containers they carried often protected them from attacks from below. After the assault on planet Earth, the Combine constructed a giant citadel within City 17. This level of construction would have taken a long time even for the Combine to construct, but with many creatures with different skill sets at their disposal, it was noted that the dropship was used to carry materials up to the higher levels of this structure. It had multiple uses, and while not violent itself, the dropship's arrival during the uprising often pushed the resistance back due to the soldiers it carried. In order to prepare for the threat that the dropships brought, the resistance instead attempted to take down the dropship before the soldiers inside could be deployed. To do this, they discovered that although their shells were tough, 4 solid hits from a rocket-propelled grenade was enough to kill its cargo. This task itself was difficult as the dropships often moved around a lot. Alongside its ability to strengthen the forces of the Combine, the dropship was noted to steal important resistance equipment, one of which was the scout car that Dr. Gordon Freeman drove to traverse the wasteland. At this point, the dropship only did what they were ordered to do from birth, attacked for simply existing, an extremely valuable resource in a war they did not want, unaware that they were once a free species. The Half-Life universe is full of terrifying stories of what could happen if another species out there discovered not only the knowledge of teleportation across dimensions and universes, but if they also possessed the desire to conquer all. The dropship, or whatever they once were likely just like us, happy on our own planet, until their discovery by the Combine, and their lives were turned into a constant living nightmare as they were transformed into living weapons and tools. The fascination with the dropship is interesting. Unnatural flying machines tasked to keep the Combine fully prepared and restocked with units, creatures that were enslaved, bred and transformed into cogs in the ever-growing Combine machine. Just like the dropship was able to help conquer new planets, would it be that much of a stretch to suggest that maybe humanity were too? Their legacy lives on as yet another creature corrupted by the mighty Combine Empire, just another species that will continue to play their important role in the next war. We all know that the development of Half-Life 2 was pretty rocky to say the least, and with everything in Half-Life, the dropship went through some changes. This first image shows a version of the dropship that was created and used in the Half-Life 2 beta. In a side-by-side comparison, it is very clear that this was and still is a creature that has been surgically modified to fulfill the goals of the Combine. This also looks a little more barbaric than the retail version. The flesh here is pretty unnerving to look at, and the Combine's adaptations appear to peek out from under the skin where we see blue circuitry, similar to the unused crab synth. We all know the meme. The beta was dark and gritty, and this is one of those prime examples. It is pretty uncomfortable to look at. This version has a dot on what could be a shell where I would have thought the Combine logo should be. I like this version, but I do prefer the one we received. These next few art pieces show the dropship in more of a familiar design that we know from the retail game, the creature having landed and the reinforcements inside leaving the container. Half-Life 2 Raising the Bar also explains that it was originally designed to not only drop enemies, but also walk on land as a large crab-like creature. Just imagine how terrifying that would have been. When I first played through the Half-Life series, I did not really pay attention to what the dropships actually were. I think I was more focused on how annoying they were when they brought in new soldiers or dropped those roller mines. It just adds to how amazing Valve are at world building. Almost everything in the series has a backstory. While the dropship does not have a ton of lore, it does give us some information across the series to suggest where they came from. I think the best addition, in my opinion, was the Vortigaunt mural in Half-Life Alyx that tells the story of the invasion of their world, in which the dropships are seen. It gives us a point in the timeline that we were not aware of. As their design was based off of ancient ocean-dwelling creatures, I think it is safe to say that so were the dropships originally. Again, this is just based on theory, so it is not canon, I guess. This is a much smaller video than I'm used to putting together, but it is also a very highly requested topic. I really wish there was more information on the dropship, but sadly there is not. Maybe one day, if another Half-Life game comes out, we may get more of a deep dive into the history of some of the creatures that were enslaved. I did not want this entire video to be me just describing the dropship, so this video does contain theories or suggestions based on research. I have, however, attempted to use words such as likely or suggested to indicate when I have made a point of my own opinion. In the future, would you like to see more videos like this? Overall, the dropship were a great addition to the Combine Empire, and one day, I hope to see them again. This was an exploration into the dropship. If you enjoyed this, then please like, leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and even share it to another Half-Life fan. If you disagreed or genuinely disliked this, then also let me know in the comments and leave a dislike. I appreciate you watching this video regardless of how you felt about it. As usual, I would like to thank my gold tier patrons, the best resistance fighters you could ask for. Jonas, Lewis, Queen Arby, Fluffy the Dragon, Chicken Guy 791, Ruben Mendoza, Duke, Toadnut, Oren X, Azu, Karatana, AJ, Verona, Comfy, and BG Games. Now, what did you think of this lore? Would you like to see the dropship's homeworld? And do you think that they were originally ocean-dwelling creatures? This is where our story ends. Check back next week for a new one.